No, we still got commercials going on, which is unusual for Shaw. That's good, though. At least they're putting some stuff on there, some content. Maybe it's after the CRTC.
Two Greyhounds. As long as you control the button, it will be fine.
So I'm assuming Abigail's not coming? She should be here by now.
I'm not sure.
Okay,
I didn't see her today.
okay. Your fellow student counselor over here, Counselor Debussy. Who's that? Retirement is sitting in too fast there, I think. Abigail. That's what I said. No.
Little.
Really? Little? Little. Yeah. Well, we're about a minute away too, Laura, so.
That looks like the BC thing.
Well,
There we go.
yeah, she's just checking to see first and seeing.
Once they legalize or cannabis, Mount Retirement Communities like cannabis. Everyone's cheery and everything. No one's got games. Round and round. 60-year-old. 6 years. Wow.
Yeah.
We're still watching the car.
We're seeing Calgary? Well, it's taking a couple of time-lapse minutes. I think it would be an automatic computer program that is just click. Technology is pretty simple.
Well, remember that when you bring up that
CRTC ruling?
you get-
Well, no, that's all part of it, because they said if you allow that third party on the line, there's not gonna be no investment in infrastructure, that's what they said. Well, it's on the agenda, isn't it, for discussion, so.
that infrastructure, they've been rewarded or paid back for their infrastructure contributions many times over, so.
No. Give it another minute, we'll get go. It's 7:03, so give it another minute.
Yeah, because people are at home waiting for it.
So we're on?
No, he says you can see them.
Okay. So, okay, thanks. Good evening and welcome to Council Monday, February 10th, 2020. Calling me to order at 7:06. Sorry for the delay at home. If you could see us, we're having a bit of difficulties with our technical support team with Shaw, so we think we got it back on the road. So with that being said, I'll remind everybody just to turn off or vibrate your mobile devices. I have a motion here that, well, first off, is there any additions to the agenda? I have one announcement for the end on the Marathon Family Cross Country Ski Club, as well as I'll do a quick verbal update on my roundtable session I attended in Thunder Bay today for the OPP changes. Anybody else? Okay, with nothing else, I do have a motion here that council hereby accepts the agenda for Monday, February 10, 2020, regular meeting of council as circular amended. So I'll just bounce back and forth for you two. Is this okay? So Councilor Debuchy and Councilor Valance, all in favor? Thank you. Any disclosure of interests this evening? Hearing none, I have a motion here that council hereby accepts the minutes of the regular meeting of council held on Monday, January 27, 2020, as well as a closed meeting of council held on Monday, January 27, 2020, and a special meeting of council held on Monday, January 27, 2020, as circular amended. Moved by Councilor Valance, second by Councilor Debuchy. Any errors or omissions of those minutes? Any questions? Hearing none, call the question, all in favor? Carried, thank you. This evening, we have a delegation doing a presentation on the Marathon Sustainability Network, and in attendance we get Margaret Cousins as well as Paige Liddell to come down and do a quick presentation on the overview of their committee's goals within our community. Good evening. Welcome.
So is this where we're supposed to be?
Absolutely.
Perfect.
The floor is yours.
Are you gonna operate this?
Sure.
Okay, well, thanks for letting us come and give a little chat about what we're about. So this is the Marathon Area Sustainability Network. You wanna go ahead? Maybe it's,
Oh,
we have to figure out how to work the.
oh,
On the
this
side.
side. Oh, there we go.
Aha.
Okay.
So we've put a little slide presentation together just to make it easy for us to know what we're going to say. The Marathon Area Sustainability Network is a group of individuals with an interest in environmental sustainability in our home region. Our vision is to work together towards an environmentally sustainable future, and basically we're creating a platform for local environmentally minded individuals to share ideas, provide support, and participate in sustainability initiatives and events. Basically, this came out of I was just at home thinking that really there's lots of opportunity to do things in the town to make improvements, and I thought one way to do it was just to, you know, kind of put the word out there and see if people had ideas and wanted to work on things, and I did that in the form of a Facebook page, which I started in late August. We currently have 31 members in the group, 17 also in a chat group kind of on the side. And there's a couple of other people who've contacted me who are not involved in the social media side of things, but are interested in doing things in the community. Basically, members are posting ideas for initiatives. There's discussion in areas like waste reduction, green products, community greening, active transportation. So basically anything that fits under sustainability and environmental kind of activities. And people post something that they might have seen somewhere else or just a thought that they have, and sometimes people make comments, sometimes people just read it and nothing really happens, but it's just sort of a discussion. And then if somebody wants to do something, they might say, we'd like some, you know, we're interested in doing this, does anybody want to help? So it's just kind of a way to connect people. Yeah, so to connect and people who are wanting to contribute to or explore an initiative. And we're not a formal group, so we don't have, you know, we don't have a board of directors, we don't have set meetings with, you know, minutes and all that kind of thing. It really is a network.
Okay. And to date, the members have expressed interest in community-wide food waste composting, as well as sustainable economic development, community greening, and examples of that like the Depave or pollinator gardens or rain gardens, a bicycle repair station or a repair cafe, reducing the use of plastics, like the use of reusable bags, bamboo toothbrushes, shampoo bars, etc. More recycling, as in other plastics, writing tool collection and transportation to Staples, and working with community partners, as well as perhaps having an award for green business practices. Our early accomplishments so far have been our pumpkin composting that we did in 2019, which took place a week after Halloween. The community initiative was to reduce organic waste and methane production at the landfill and help create nutrient-dense soil for the community garden. There was over 145 pumpkins dropped off from around town. Another early accomplishment that we had was our grab a bag, leave a bag, and this was at the local grocer. And it helps to reduce the use of single-use plastics at the grocer. So we have a take a bag, leave a bag cabinet, which is a place to drop off spare reusable bags for pickup for people needing bags for their groceries.
So we just want to acknowledge the town of Marathon's actually done quite a few things in the past around sustainability. So we just wanted to kind of acknowledge that. So in terms of waste management, we have the bag tags, which is sort of a incentive for people to do more recycling and less just general waste. The blue bag recycling, the waste transfer station has lots of things at it. So there's the e-waste, hazardous waste, glass, clean wood, bicycles, clean steel and yard waste, and then you've had home composters available at times in the past, piloted some indoor ones at one point, and then in terms of energy, you've switched over to LED streetlights. There's some solar panels around town on community buildings. There's an electric car plug-in outside. I don't know if anybody's used it yet, but maybe that's a direction somebody will go. And there's, I see, an energy conservation and demand management plan. And then in terms of water, we've had a rain barrel program in the past as well. So despite all that, we know there's room for more, so that's kind of where we're headed.
So we have observed the strategic plan for 2019 to 2022, and we believe that there are many areas in which we can support the vision of the town of Marathon, such as the community beautification and community improvement plan, and attracting and retaining young and talented professionals. The Marathon Area Sustainability Network would like to know what the town does, what plans do the town have related to sustainability? If there's plans on recycling plastics 3 to 7, any plans on composting food waste, details for further energy reduction and efficiency, bans of plastic bags and plastic straws, community greening, and stormwater runoff.
So these are just some things that have kind of come up in conversations that, as I say, like online or between talking to people, things we're kind of curious about. Not necessarily expecting we'll have an answer to all these questions right now. And so, I don't know, we have a couple other slides that kind of are on the same theme, so we'll just go through those and then maybe we can have a little discussion after.
Okay.
So also a lot of the things that people are mentioning are around the current waste management. So I think we'd like to have an idea of what the main current concerns are right now in terms of waste management in the current system. Is there some sort of waste audit? Do we know what the main things are that we'd like to target? Where does yard waste go? Can we make better use of it? Where does the recycling go? Is there a contact for that company? And we are particularly, some people have mentioned to me being particularly interested in knowing if we're doing it right, because there's lots in the news about recycling. When people put things in, it's not actually what we're supposed to be putting in. So I don't know if here it goes to Thunder Bay, but there's things that are very specific on the thing. I'm kind of half here and half in Thunder Bay right now, but there's things that we're told not to put in that I thought we could put in here. So if they're going to the same place, maybe we're doing some things wrong. And then I think there might be some interest in a tour of the waste transfer station, just so people have a better idea of what is there and a better idea of where things go. Also, we were curious to know if the town knows of any relevant grants that are available. I know I've seen some, but I'm just curious about others. Key contacts at the town office, how to provide input, get information. So if we're interested in working on something and it's ties in with the town, or maybe the town has some thoughts about it, who would we contact? And then I think also we just wanted to have an idea if there's things that we can do within the network that would be helpful for the direction that the town might be going, or what they see as priorities. So, I mean, we're happy to do things, whether it's public education, doing, like, looking up research about stuff, providing input, assisting with projects or whatever. And that's it.
Great, thanks. Some key questions I think you've asked along the way, but I'm gonna ask council if they have any questions of you too, to see if there's anything else that they wanna get information on, then we can have a brief discussion about some of the things you brought forward. Councilor DeWucci? Sure, Councilor Reynolds.
Thanks for the presentation and, well, job well done on everything you guys have accomplished so far. If anyone is looking to get involved with the group, is the Facebook page the best way or the best outlet to kind of get connected with you guys?
Absolutely.
Okay, and then second question, has there been any type of conversation with the Chamber of Commerce? Because I know right now, their narrative of what they're doing with the eco single-use plastic is more of an education piece, so it might be a good linkage to meet up with them and kind of maybe even do the presentation to them and then kind of go from there, right?
Yeah, I know somebody's contacted Wendy, who's here, about, like, from the Chamber of Commerce, so expressing some interest in that.
Absolutely. Yes.
So just a quick update on that, if you don't mind, Councilor Fallons. The AGM was supposed to be taking place last week, but the meeting was changed, so that was all gonna be discussed there.
Okay.
And then that would have been moved forward. So there was some dialogue
Okay.
with the chamber, but the meeting has just been canceled because there was some illness with the executive. So they just bumped it ahead. So it's still gonna happen, it just, that'd be a good opportunity, and I think through your group or Wendy could attend that and have that discussion around that as well. There's been a lot of discussion going on as well.
Good.
Councilor DeWucci?
No.
No, you're good? Okay, some key points, and I passed it out to you earlier. You know, Marathon has really been a really true advocate in regards to recycling. We started recycling in 1997. We were not mandated. Mandated recycling programs start at 5,000 and over. We fall under that category. So we take that as a leadership role to do the recycling. As you know, with the transfer station, it's a very expensive facility to operate, and by operating it, we do the best we can. Problem is, a lot of times, there's not a market for a lot of the recycling products from our location because of distance to market. GFL is the contractor on site now. That's at South Thunder Bay. That information will be shared from administration with your group as well. Just recently, that price tag went from $130,000 to $180,000 annually for recycling in Marathon. So it's a huge cost to the ratepayers in the community. We still continue to provide the programs for the recycling because we believe it's a cause that we all support. This council fully supports it, and they have in the past. So even that price tag going up, it's a huge burden to the ratepayers. We believe it's a good program. The waste electronics is going to end this year. The Government of Ontario has worked with AMO to discuss different programs on how the manufacturer is going to start taking care of all the products they provide and produce. So that's going to happen it's a long process. It's frustrating, but that's how government works, and they've allowed the manufacturers 6 years from
Okay.
the end of 19. So we're frustrated with AMO, but we also believe that was a win because now it'll transition over the next 5 years now. But they're going to take care of this year with electronic waste, so we will no longer receive electronic waste in December of this year. That program will end at our location. Then also the household hazardous waste will probably either end at the end of this year or early next year in regards to that because of the manufacturing recycling programs. What's that going to look like? We don't know what that's going to look like yet, but they've been mandated by the Ontario government to do that, and they've agreed to. So whether that's a deposit system on all of the products, or not, we're not fully aware and sure of those details. They will roll out. So those two key programs we're providing today will no longer be with us here at this transfer station at the end of this year and maybe the following year. Of course, we'll continue to recycle all the other products. We do the curbside pickup. We'll continue to do that. And the facility is opened specifically right now with the electronic waste as well as all the other recycling products other than the household hazardous waste is open 3 days a week, as you know. The household hazardous waste is only open during the summer, and that's all your products, paints, light bulbs, lights, aerosols, everything underneath the kitchen cupboard type scenario. And so that will work until we're done with that. So the fridge, everything, we do all the right things, and over the past, we've done some grain barrels, as you mentioned, Margaret. We did a program with Eco Superior. That's an excellent agency that I'm sure you've had discussions with them as well. And then we also looked at toilets, but the money ran out from the municipality's point of view because we just didn't have the money in the budget to continue these programs. But those are the things we were looking at, is to reduce water consumption. Storm sewer, that's part of the system. It runs off into Lake Superior's treated though prior to that. And then the other part of the newer part of town runs off into the back of Hemlo. So it's vetted before it even gets to Lake Superior. If you go down past the tunnel, there's never been water in there. So it doesn't even get to the lake. You know, it's, you know, naturally drains into to the earth. Food waste, we did look into in the past, recycling and composting. But the amount we have here is very expensive to operate. We did a study, we looked at other communities, so that was something we just couldn't justify because the amount of work is involved with composting. You need to move it multiple times. So that we did look into in the past. The plastic reduction, as Councillor Valens mentioned, we've had chats with the Chamber. We brought this to Thunder Bay District Municipal League as well as NOMA. Everybody's on the file in regards to how do we reduce plastics. And then the federal government, even though they have a minority government right now, they've said that they were looking at reducing or eliminating single-use plastics by 2021. So we'll work with that, and with that idea, we'll continue to move it forward to our municipalities. But I also noticed with your picture in regards to the reuse and drop off and use of a bag, and the owner of the store now has also brought in some paper bags already. So I think he's given opportunities for our residents to utilize different programs over there. We've seen a bunch
Yeah,
of
actually, he's been really great.
yeah. So Gus
I know
has
they've
been-
been doing
Gus
some
and
other
Arlene,
stuff
yeah.
over there,
Yeah.
so, yeah.
I really like your idea with the Chamber with the Green Business Award. I think that's the key, because then you get people involved and really part of the program. So it's working. So the Grab the Bag program, the Green Business Award would be really good. We can continue to look at rain barrels and other things that we will look at, but budget is this year, we just went through it, and it's tight. So that's from a council point of view, and I'll let administration maybe add on if they want in regards to the administration side of operating a recycling depot.
Well, I just from a protocol perspective, Your Worship, I think, certainly administration would be happy to meet with the group. Ultimately, council should direct administration to bring a report back through a delegation if they wish to see that. Not that I want to stop the discussion, but that is just the proper rules of discussion. So certainly I'm the main contact and would be happy to meet with the group and go into more detail in a less formal setting with a little more time in terms of what we're doing. I think to try and capture something in 2 minutes probably doesn't do
Yeah.
it justice. So administration would certainly be happy to meet with the group and take them through what we're doing and what we could potentially look at partnering on.
Fantastic. Thank you so much.
Great.
Thanks.
Thank you for coming
Yeah,
out.
thanks for your
Thank
time.
you. Yeah.
Appreciate it.
Right on.
Have a good night. You're more than welcome to stay for the rest of the meeting, too. We tell everybody that, but most people just get up and leave. Thanks.
What's on the agenda?
I'm just being honest. Up next, we have student council report actually, I'll do the council report on the roundtable part first, so sorry about that, Councillor Hatton. So I had the opportunity to meet this morning for about a 5 or 6 hour session in regards to the community safety plans, going from the Police Services Act to the community safety plans and to regulatory development and changes. This was a confidential meeting, so I can't share a whole lot of details, but the province through the Ministry Solicitor General's office, as well as the OPP, are looking at changing the way the police services boards operate and the mandate that they're under. And also there was a lot of discussion around what does the detachments look like? Is it going to be clustering? Is it going to be single detachments? They did hear us, so that was good in regards to the one size doesn't fit all, because when you look at a plan, they typically look at the province as a whole. But we were assured this morning with the minister's office staff that this was going to be looked at as a one size doesn't fit all, so there will be variances within the plan, and there could be different models within it as well. So it was a very good meeting, and we talked about all the different sections of the Police Services Act. The one thing that scared everybody there, who was mostly police services boards, we're all mandated now to do a whole new section of training. So even though all the training we've had in the past, it's not relevant into this new plan. So we'll all have to do training all over again. So it's something that nobody was very pleased with, but that's part of the mandate that they're going to go to is the governance model and the training model for the transition from the Police Services Act to the now is Community Safety and Policing Act is going to be called. So very interesting meeting. So details will come, and I'll share more with you as this document becomes more of a public document. And that's it on that. Up next, we have Councillor Hatton with the Student Council report.
So we're now in full swing of second semester. We've had a couple sports days, and we have another one tomorrow out of town in Manitouwadge, I believe. Either Manitouwadge or Terrace Bay. Oh, Niprock. I was wrong. We also have a Jack Talk chapter starting at Marathon High School, so it's all about mental health promotion and supports within the community and just trying to get everyone aware of mental health within Marathon High School. And it also allows students to travel to other schools in Canada with all expenses paid to go talk about, do a presentation about mental health, and then they also get together in Thunder Bay, I believe, or Toronto, and just kind of meet with each other and share what they've done in their schools. So it's a pretty new and cool opportunity for students at Marathon, and if you want to check it out, you can just go to jack.org.
Good, thanks for the report. Any questions of Councillor Hatton? Good, thank you for that. Up next, we have CIO report on Peninsula Harbor Port Authority. Mr. Skoczynski.
So at the joint council meeting held February the 3rd between the town of Marathon and Beekdagong, one of the agenda discussion items was the development of a port authority on municipal lands, which was the former mill site, accessing Peninsula Harbor. Beekdagong has provided the town with a letter of intent to proceed jointly to develop a port authority for Peninsula Harbor. Within the letter of intent, Beekdagong has requested that we begin the formal process to develop the port authority, with the first step in that process being the development of a memorandum of understanding to guide the project between the two parties. The development of the former mill site lands has been identified in the town's current strategic plan as a strategic economic development project, and council has identified it as a priority for 2020. There are no direct financial implications at this time by signing the letter of intent. Your options are to A, proceed with entering into a letter of intent to begin the formal process to develop the Port Authority in partnership with Beekdagong, or B, do not proceed with signing the letter of intent at this time. And your administration recommends an option A be approved and that the CAO be authorized to negotiate the MOU on behalf of the municipality, and that the mayor and clerk be authorized to sign the MOU on behalf of the municipality once mutually agreed upon.
Thank you for that report. I do have a motion here that council hereby accepts the attached report and recommendation on the Peninsula Harbor Port Authority development, and that the administration be authorized to proceed entering into a letter of intent beginning the formal process to develop a port authority in partnership with Beekdagong. And further, that the mayor and clerk be authorized to negotiate an MOU on behalf of the municipality. Moved by Councilor Debuchy, second by Councilor Valance. Any questions on that motion? Councilor Debuchy.
Thank you. Because it's I'll say international waters because the border goes through Superior. The distance, would we fall under federal jurisdiction on the rights of waterway?
So we would have to, so obviously, one of the things we would do is undertake that research. But one thing I do know is, it's both tied to Ontario legislation as well as the Department of Fisheries and Oceans. So there's no question we would have to follow two different processes, one being provincially, one being federally. But part of this process will be to identify all those approvals that we're going to require to actually establish that port authority.
Okay, so I'm sorry, it isn't that we're gonna develop the project, we're looking at just getting a memorandum of understanding between us and Beekdagong
Correct.
on developing, okay.
Right, so
sorry,
at this point in time, what they've requested of the municipality is really, and it's more administrative in nature than it is governance, is to establish all of the key initiatives and areas we have to identify and work on to ultimately establish that port authority. So, things like the legal structure, what are the requirements at a federal level? What are the requirements at a provincial level through the Ministry of Natural Resources? So ultimately, what the MOU would be is the best way I think I would characterize it. It's more of a research project to bring back to the two governance bodies to recommend the proper strategic path forward.
Okay, I was overstepping because I was figuring we were gonna develop the Port Authority because there would be significant jurisdictions involved. I mean, obviously, it's an international water and whatnot, so I was a little worried because we really have no, I'll say, presence. I mean, there was that Port Authority or Ports of Lake Superior that had the convention in Thunder Bay, but we chose not to send anybody. I mean, those kind of things we should look into also as part of your report or understanding, because there are multiple, I guess, port authorities around Lake Superior that we could gain some knowledge from, eh?
Yeah, there's certainly a number, administration has undertaken some very preliminary work and looked at, obviously, there's organizations tied to the St. Lawrence Seaway, there's organizations tied to the Great Lakes, and part of the MOU will be completing all of that research, and looking at the legalities of the Port Authority, what the government structure might look like, the business corporation structure, the business plan. So there's a lot of work to do, but I think we're confident we could complete that in 2020 and then bring a recommendation forward to council for 2021.
Thanks. And Councilor Debuchy made mention, but there is the Binational Lake Superior Forum that takes place, and they've asked us to be a member of that in the past, and we decided not to, because we didn't see the advantage, but now there might be opportunities to look at that as an opportunity to rejoin that forum. Okay, with that being said, I'll call a question. All in favor? Carried. Thank you. So up next, we have a motion here on the attendance. Following individuals to attend NOMA in Fort Francis, Ontario. This is for their AGM on April 29th through to May 1st. Moved by Councillor Valens, second by Councillor Debuchy. And I need names if you're attending this event. Councillor Valens? Councillor Debuchy?
I would have to check my schedule.
Well, I'm gonna put your name here, and you can let staff know, like, tomorrow.
And I would suggest Councillor Lake and Councillor Gingras be added as well,
Okay.
and we can follow up and determine if they will be going.
Yeah, worst case scenario, they can take my spot because I just went to,
Everybody is budgeted to go to NOMA if they wish.
Okay. The problem with NOMA is the room availability, because there's also the Dudley Hewlett tournament going on at the same time, so the rooms are pretty scarce. Okay, so with that being said, Mr. Skrzynski, you're gonna be attending? Okay, so it'll just be council, and myself, I'll add on there just to be sure, so. With that being said, Councillor Debuchy, Valens, Gingras, and Lake, and myself in attendance. We will notify Deputy Clerk. Student councillors, yeah, we
Yes,
did
we've
take
traditionally
in the
invited the
past.
student councillors to NOMA.
So I'll put your names down, and then you can get back to the deputy as well, because we're gonna have to figure that out, because there's 4 rooms in our name so far, but I don't know how that's gonna look in regards to that, because I got NOMA to do, the rooms are really tight. Very, very. There might not be any right now. So. Okay, so I'll put Hatton and Blanchette as well. Okay, carried, thank you. Up next, we have a motion requested from the Municipality Association of Rainy River, and the council hereby supports the attached resolution received from Rainy River Municipal Association pertaining to the fair and equitable property taxation revenue on railway right-of-ways collected by municipalities in Ontario, and further, a copy of this motion before the individuals listed on the originating resolution. And as you can see, it's talking about the increase of railway taxation and the noise pollution and wait times and annual basis to ensure that the Ontario does not continue to fall further behind their approach on railway property taxation. This has been an ongoing battle, as everybody's familiar with, in regards to the province. We've made some headway through AMO and NOMA. In regards to taxation, we pretty well doubled our taxation over the last couple of years, but we need to get back in reality and continue to push this. So this is just an ongoing effort with the support of this Rainy River District. So moved by Councillor Debuchy, second by Councillor Valens. Any questions on that motion? Councillor Debuchy? No? Okay. All in favor? Carried, thank you. So we have another resolution in regards to the, council hereby supports the resolution received from the City of Sarnia pertaining to the Ontario Power Generation Deep Geological Repository Project. Further, copy of the motion before it on to individuals listed in the originating resolution. This is in regards to I think now the one community has been eliminated completely, so there's only one in Southern Ontario and one in Northern Ontario now, to date. So there's 2 locations of the nuclear waste depository, and that is in Ignace, Ontario, and just outside of the Sarnia community of Sarnia. So, and they're looking for support on that, and I'm not too sure. I'll ask council if they have any questions with the mover and seconder's permission. So moved by Councillor Valens, second by Councillor Debuchy. Any comments on that?
I'll make
Councillor Debuchy.
they had more than opportune times all throughout the process. This has been like a 8-year process, if I remember correctly, where they whittled down things, and they're just coming up with this now? Is it like, because the area was more than willing to take the money to explore the site, yet all of a sudden, the last minute, they're proposing or making opposition?
Yeah, I would certainly agree, and by no means has the process been halted, nor has actually a community been chosen as the ultimate site for the repository. So what has happened is, as the mayor indicated, they've identified Ignace and I believe it's Kincardine actually, in southern Bruce, to do a number of very detailed studies, which includes borehole drilling. So they might be a little bit premature in their request, because if I, go on the NWOM website, I see that there's still 2 to 3 more years of study work before they're actually going to choose a site, if they even decide to choose a site. So I'm really unsure of what they're actually looking at, because this is the process that's taking place in Ontario right now.
So the, Councillor Valens?
So strategically, by supporting this, would that not increase Ignace's chances of obtaining it?
Yeah, but I believe that Mr. Skrinsky made a valid point. We're kind of, the horse before the tail scenario, where there's not even a decision being made, and they haven't even drilled finally here, nor they have an Ignace. They're in the process of doing that. So they're asking for a halting of construction of the deep geological repository in the Bruce Peninsula. There hasn't even been no identification of that. So I don't know. Councillor, I'll take your direction. I personally just think we table it, but Councillor
Okay,
Debuchy?
because there is a plan in the Bruce Peninsula, because that's where the majority of the nuclear
Waste.
spent rods is produced, I guess, for the short-term storage facility, and I believe that is on the Bruce Peninsula because of the transportation cost. And that's the short-term storage until they find a long-term sustainability. Is that what they're talking about? Okay,
Well-
so I would suggest you're right. We table this.
So I'll read you I think, and Councillor Valens makes a good point, I think maybe there is an opportunity, because an urgent resolution of council to support the halting of the construction of deep geological repository in the Bruce Peninsula, so that less dangerous solutions can be found for longer storage of the nuclear waste. So their part is the wording that's tricky, because we're saying no to this, we're saying no to the nuclear waste depository. And I think that support is in Ignace, so, I'm not too sure how you wanna move forward, so.
I would, sorry, if it may, I think one of two things. Is this the short-term storage facility? Is this the long-term
This is the long term.
facility?
This
Because
is the 100 years.
So Kearney is, I just looked at my map, sorry, while I was doing it, but that's not really in Sarnia's backyard. I mean, in a sense. So I would suggest they had more than enough opportunity moving along, and for them to ask other communities now to get involved, I think it's kind of late in the game. I mean,
Well, certainly
So-
council has, council can table it, council
Yeah,
can
so-
defer it and ask administration to bring back more information, council can vote and defeat it. It's
Councillor
completely
Valens?
within your realm.
Oh, I totally support just tabling it and staying.
Okay,
neutral
Councillor
road.
Debuchy?
table.
Okay, for now, we'll table it. I don't know if there's any more information needed. I think it's just a timeline scenario that they're asking for, and I don't know. I think we need to, yeah, they wanted to, quick resolution, they want it back, so we'll just table it for now, with your permission. But at the same time, I think we'll get an update at the AGM in Noma and where the actual process is, and I think there's opportunity, because, the economic impact, it's gonna go somewhere. So we'd rather have it somewhere where it's gonna create economic impact to the communities in the region rather than not, so we'll see what happens.
We'd rather be in the safest spot.
Absolutely. Okay, if another motion here in council hereby supports the petition received from the Shaw Communication pertaining to the provincial government telecom order CRTC 2019-288. Further motion be forwarded to the individuals listed on the originating request. So this will be moved by Councillor Debuchy and seconded by Councillor Valens. Any comments on this? Councillor Debuchy?
Okay, from my understanding, this is because they want to open up the 5G, or what we consider fiber network, that the 5 main players have a basic exclusive use of, and they are opposing allowing third party or other parties access to the, I'll say, fiber optic lines. I can't support this resolution and the fact that over the course of the last, I'll say 10 years when it became actually live, because I remember Harold was still in council when we moved as part of Canada 360 to get the lines in favor of the lines, that they've more than probably recouped their investment in it. And I think it's the same thing that happened with Ma Bell when they allowed third-party carriers to go on their lines. And it increased competition, and it made the market based on, I guess, supply and demand and or competition. So I think they've had more than enough exclusive use of the fiber network for their time, and I think it's right for the CRTC to give it public access or more access.
So I had
I'm
the,
opposing it.
sure, I had an opportunity to meet with Ian Phillips in Toronto to discuss this very issue. It's not just Shaw, it's, as you said, it's all the big corporations that have installed the infrastructure. What they're concerned about is that if the third party has the access to the line, the third party doesn't do any maintenance or upkeep on the line system. They only have access to the line. So they're going to offer a lower price maybe for the internet provided at the homeowner's expense. So it's better for the consumer, but at the end of the day, then it could be, it's worse for the consumer because we'll have less of the service that's provided to our homes and businesses because nobody's keeping up on the lines because they don't have the revenue. This is the argument they give, and it's the argument they give to CRTC, that they won't have the revenue coming in to offset the cost of the upkeep of the lines and the fiber optic cable. That's, in a nutshell, is what the argument was.
Yeah. And if I
Councillor Debussy.
could
Yep.
also say, and I was also at the Aroma thing, and one of the things that I met was with some of the smaller ones, and they're not getting it for free. They have to pay for access to it. So it's not like the big boys put it all in and then they just get to ride along with it. So they are going to pay a competitive rate based on the CRTC for access to this line. What it does do is it provides competition because, as everyone knows or everyone touts, Canada is one of the highest jurisdictions, or has the highest per capita or cost for internet services and phone services in the industrial world. So I think competition's a good thing. They had it good for a long time, and now it's time for them to open up. So I can't support this resolution.
Councillor Valens, you have any comments?
I agree with Councillor Debussy actually with the lack of avoiding a monopoly for sure, so.
Okay. Mr. Korchinski, you have any comments?
Yeah, I certainly I wouldn't direct council, on which direction they should take with respect to it. Administratively, I think we would have a concern with it being a complete open access system, where there's not any investment required for any third parties to come in and operate on those lines. Certainly competition, no doubt, is what we want. It ultimately provides the best solution for the consumer. But when it's pure open access, I'm not sure how you regulate it so there's proper investment. So, let's make the assumption that a third party, takes over 98% of the contracts in Marathon, yet doesn't have a plan to reinvest capitally in those facilities. And at that point, one of the providers, let's say at Shaw, says, well, we're not going to service Marathon anymore. Right? We don't have any customers there. What happens?
And
I don't think that's been identified by the CRTC yet.
No.
Right? It's one thing to grant access. It's another thing to be able to capitalize that over time. So administratively, I read what the CRTC, what's before them, and I don't think there's enough information, honestly, for them to make a decision on whether it should be, pure open access should be allowed.
And that was the argument that Shaw representative made with myself in Toronto. And the reality is that they used the example of the third party opening up the hydro corridor when all the selling organizations were in our communities all throughout the Northwest and Southern Ontario, selling you hydro at a cheaper cost. And it didn't last long because you were getting this product that was being sold to you at a reduction, but there was no maintenance. So then as soon as the hydro ones and the utilities in Thunder Bay and that pulled out, you've seen a huge impact to the homeowner. So it didn't work in that case, and it was allowed to under the act as well. They're just saying that they, exactly what Mr. Krasinski said, they want to have some more information in regards to their investment within the line system and the capital replacement of that, as well as the cost of the refurbishment of the fiber optic cables. Councillor Debussy, another comment?
Yeah, and again, this is just a preliminary ruling from the CRTC. They haven't given any final verdict. This is just Shaw and the Big Five trying to garner support that remain the status quo. And I think the CRTC, although their regulatory portion over the telecommunications is is justified, that they look at this and follow up and find out if it's viable that they're going. Because one of the things it said in this thing is about the rates that the third parties will have to pay for access. So I think it's something that we should let go through the CRTC. They have more than enough opportunity later on to make submissions. I'm sure they have a whole departments of PR people working on getting their message out. So I just don't think it's up to us as a council to support this resolution and to hinder, I'll say, entrepreneurship from a third party.
Okay, so I'm just gonna read you the point that was brought to my attention in orders 216-396 and 216-448, the final rates of aggregate wholesale high-speed access and services. The reasons for the requests are included in the petitions so that the third party doesn't have full access without having any investment. That's all they're arguing. They don't have the problem with the third party having access to the system. They have a problem with the third party having access with no conditions. That's what the argument is. So that's where I see that if we're gonna be informed on something, we should be informed on the whole petition. And that's the argument that they're using.
And I'm saying municipally, this doesn't fall within our jurisdiction. We shouldn't be governing what the federal government deals as part of their federal mandate, which is the communication process. Let the markets decide on what's the best way to move forward.
So I'll give you an example. In our community right now, we're faced with some problems with our high speed, our internet systems, because we have a single sole provider, and the provider is now having problems bringing that infrastructure to the community. So without as you mentioned, without the consumer, we're gonna have no product. So by us not voting and preparing this argument for the CRTC revisit this, there might not be a service provider in our community at the end of the day. So with that consideration, I'll call the question whether you're gonna support or vote against the resolution. Councilor Debuchy.
Again.
Councilor Valens.
I do like how you made a comment about how the third parties are allowed access, but with restrictions. So with that being said, I will support it.
Yes, I also support the resolution going forward for the CRTC to go to the position. They're also gonna be asking both NOMA and AMO to visit this as well as the municipalities that are affected. And it's only for preliminary discussions around that third-party involvement. So, with that being said, that was all in favor. We got passed, so it was good. And then we have Emergency Service Department year-end report. Any questions on that? And then, of course, I have a verbal comment that the Marathon Cross Country Ski Club will be hosting a free marshmallows roast on Family Day, this coming Family Day, 1 to 4 at the golf course, and everybody's welcome to attend and roast marshmallows and go for a ski or a snowshoe. Family Day is on, our Family Day, same thing, we have the swimming and skate at the arena and pool. So take part on that, and that's Monday the 17th. Go out and enjoy some recreational activities in the community. And prior to adjournment, we will be going into an in-camera meeting to discuss labor relations, employee negotiations, acquisition and disposition of land and property. So with that being said, I'll call the meeting adjourned at the hour of 7:45 p.m. Thank you and have a good night. That wasn't so bad, was it,